This is the 18 Strong Podcast with Jeff Pellizzaro, episode number 28.
Welcome to the 18 Strong Podcast, where you get direct access to the world's greatest experts on training harder, practicing smarter, and playing better golf. Now, here's your host, Jeff Pellizzaro.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Jeff Pellizzaro. Welcome back to the 18 Strong Podcast. Thanks again for being here. And I have to say, it's pretty cool to be able to watch some excellent golf on TV the past couple of weeks. And we've had some awesome examples of what I consider to be 18 Strong. You know, the whole idea of the podcast and everything surrounding this website is helping golfers become the best golfer that they can be. And that's both physically, actually playing the game, the skills, the techniques, more so, you know, even on the fitness side, the health side, but the mental side, and just doing all of that stuff. And how do we put all those pieces together? And I think over the past 2 weeks, we've seen some pretty cool stuff. And, you know, for those of you that may be listening to this episode in the future, just this past week, we had Padraig Harrington win his first PGA event in I don't know how many years. And the week before that, we had James Hahn, who won his first event on the PGA Tour. Both of these guys coming in, I think, ranked in the world at number 297 in the world rankings prior to going into that tournament, which is a crazy stat, just the fact that they both were exactly number 297 and then went on to win. But the way that they both did it in, you know, sudden death playoff holes. So James Hahn comes out 3 holes and 1 putts on all 3 holes to take down Dustin Johnson for his first big PGA win. And then this past week, Padraig Harrington in 2 playoff holes comes out, you know, on 17 in his regular round, puts a ball in the water at PGA National, and then coming back to the same exact hole in the playoffs, he sticks a ball to about 4 feet to basically finish off the competition. The young man, 21-year-old Daniel Berger, who he was playing in the playoff, had a phenomenal round, but just couldn't hang. And Padraig, after so many years, shows the resilience and the determination that I think epitomizes 18 Strong. So just some very cool stuff to watch, and really inspires me to get out and play, like I kind of talked about last week, to get out and play this game more and learn how to play it much better. So hopefully with what we have going on here, we can help you do that as well. Get out and play a little bit better golf, a lot better golf. So just want to kind of get into the episode today. But before I do that, I wanted to read the most recent review that I got on iTunes for the 18 Strong Podcast. And this is by Colberding. And he says, Jeff has done a great job collaborating some of the best minds in the industry. Every week I look forward to hearing his next episode. He asks the right questions and directs the conversation in a way that is meaningful and helpful. Being able to supplement the content he provides on a weekly basis helps me move forward in striving to reach my own potential on the golf course and working in the golf industry. So thank you very much for the review. As always, I love seeing this stuff. It really means a lot to me. And, you know, keep the reviews coming. If you guys have not left a review, I would definitely love to hear what you guys are thinking. It takes only a minute or two to get on iTunes, searching the podcast for 18 Strong. You'll find it right there. Click the review and ratings button, and you're on your way. So really appreciate all of you that have gone on to give a review on iTunes. And then just a couple other quick things. Lately, I've been putting a lot of work and time into this book that I mentioned, I think a couple weeks ago, that I'm putting together. And it is called The Guide to a Bogey-Proof Workout. And it's been taking a lot longer than I anticipated. I've actually been working on this thing for, it's been 6 months to a year at least that the whole process has started. And with the start of the podcast and the website, you know how everything kind of gets backed up and backtracked. So, but I am very close to the end. And so if you see, or pretty soon you will be seeing on social media, I'm likely to enlist or ask for a few favors from all of you out there listening. in regards to, helping to make this the best content that I can create for you and for what you want to hear. So I might be throwing out some questions and looking for some assistance as far as, what are some of the questions that you want me to answer in this book, and, what are some of the things that you want to know more about? What are some questions that you guys might have? And then I might even throw out some things as far as like the book's design for the cover and stuff like that. I've got some preliminary mock-ups made, but would love to get your opinion on that stuff. And if you are on the email list for 18 Strong, you'll definitely be getting an email about this in the future. And if you're not on the email list, I would encourage you to do so. I send out a newsletter basically talking about some of the things that you can't get on the 18 Strong blog or podcast, just going into some more depth on some different things. And you can go get on the email list at 18strong.com. You can get our free book to sign up and put your email in there, and you'll be on the list. Or you can just go to 18strong.com/5yardsbook, and you'll get the free ebook that I have posted up there for you. So again, all this stuff is on the show notes page, and on the website you can find just the free book on the right-hand side. Can't miss it. Okay, on to our special guest of today's podcast, who I just had a phenomenal time talking to this gentleman. We had Justin Tupper on the line last week for the interview, and what you're going to be hearing here. Justin is the CEO and co-founder of Revolution Golf. And if you don't know what Revolution Golf is, it is basically the biggest online database of instructional information and videos for a golfer out there. So if you haven't been to revolutiongolf.com, you should probably pause this podcast and go there right now and sign up for their emails, because they basically put out the best content regarding golf instruction, mental game stuff, fitness, all that stuff. And they come at you with basically a video almost every single day, top-notch quality, and like I said, some great instructors, and you guys will love the content. So for me, this interview was very exciting for several reasons. First, if there's a guy who's going to know anything about what you, the golfer, is looking for, it's going to be Justin Tupper, the guy that runs the biggest online website for golfers like yourself. So I wanted to get in touch with him and dive into some of the content that is being most readily consumed off of their website, and give you guys some information about that. And then just, what brought this whole website about. And Justin gives a great background story as to how this whole thing started. And then second, for me personally, just from a business standpoint, being a guy who has a website, who is creating a platform online, every business book that I've ever read talks about getting around the people that are doing what you want to do and doing it the best. And I can't think of a person in this industry that is doing this any better than Justin Tupper. And so for me to have the opportunity to not only speak to him about, everything going on with the golfers and the content that they're creating, but Justin was kind enough to even take a few extra minutes with me after the phone call and just talk about, my goals and what's going on with the 18 Strong podcast. So Justin, I can't thank you enough for taking that time to, let me bend your ear a little bit, ask you a few questions and some advice, and I will definitely take to heart everything that we talked about. So thank you sincerely for that, and if there's anything I can ever do for you in Revolution Golf in the future, by all means, you know exactly where to find me. So without further ado, I present Justin Tupper. Hey, Justin, welcome to the 18 Strong podcast.
Jeff, thanks for having me.
I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming on and taking the time out of your day and, heading home from the office to find a quiet spot to get on the airwaves with us. And I know that a lot of the listeners know exactly, what Revolution Golf is, who you are, but are very excited to hear the background story. And first, before we get into the website, I want them to learn a little bit more about you. I want to get to know you a little bit better. So give us a little background on, you're coming up and how you got into the golf game.
Sure. So I been a passionate golfer since I was 10 years old, and I'm 40 now. So majority of my life, I learned the game from finding an old set of my grandfather's clubs after he passed away at my grandma's house out on Long Island, out in Southampton, when I was a kid, and just sort of started hitting balls in the yard there, and that's where I got the bug and sort of got the first love of the game. And then I grew up in South Carolina, a small town called Buffort. Played junior golf. Was a good junior player, but wasn't. Had too many other hobbies and sports, and to really dedicate myself enough to golf. But loved the game. Was always a good player. Played some national junior stuff, but wasn't super competitive. Went to college. Went to go walk on the golf team at the University of South Carolina, and actually, probably could have played a little there. I was a good player when I was a really good player when I was 17, 18 at that age, and still keep a single digit 2 handicap now. But it was just one of those things where collegiate golf is a monster, man. You gotta really decide. For me, I wasn't good enough at school and golf to do both, so I had to pick one of them. And so then life started after college, and I was a film major in college with a cognate in photography, which I'm actually reading a great book right now called Bold. And I was just thinking the other morning that I probably came up at the worst time to be a media major in college, because literally spent my days, and I'm explaining how old I am, but I spent my college days in dark rooms developing film and splicing videotape for editing. And literally, I was at the end of that. And, the digital camera was on the market right after that. But it's just funny how that works. But was a film major, worked on some motion pictures after college, then got into selling some real estate in South Carolina, was between Charleston and Beaufort, South Carolina. And then really in 2008, I said, man, I was at this kind of crossroads in my life and said, all right, it's time to sort of figure out what I wanted to do. And, my dad gave me the advice that so many great parents, try to give their kids. And that is, try to find something you're passionate about and make a living at it. It won't seem like work won't seem like work. And so I did that, and I started, a very simple golf blog, really super simple, on a WordPress blog. And it was in 2008, and I had video background, and literally YouTube was sort of just starting to emerge, and streaming video was something that was becoming more and more capable online. And I just had, had a hunch that this video thing was going to be really big for the web. And by the way, as we sit here in 2015 and talk about this, I still think we're on the very tip of where we're going to end, where the web will end up evolving to video-wise. But anyway, at that time I just, said there's a real opportunity here. There's an opportunity to bring great golf instruction to people all over the world who maybe don't have access to it in a very cost-effective way, meaning the ability to help them with video, help them get some understanding, and really help them understand what all it takes to become, a better player. Everyone has their personal goals. What does a better player mean? Some people that's to break 100. Some people, obviously, that's to break 80. And some people it is to be able to a single digit or shoot scratch. And as long as people understand to get to each one of those levels, no matter who you are, it takes a different level of commitment, education, and dedication to sort of get there. And I think that there needed to be a platform for that. And so, literally in 2009, I started filming some video with literally my video equipment. A friend's dad who was a PGA pro down in South Carolina, and just started this, started with a basic website. And then before I got going too far, I realized, it doesn't matter how good your instruction is. If you don't have anybody who can see it, it does no good. In other words, if you don't have an audience. And so I started really immersing myself in studying online marketing what was going on in that space, and ended up going to several seminars. And the second seminar I ever went to, I met a guy who is one of the other founders of Revolution Golf. His name's Dean Strickler. And Dean is living in California, still lives in California. And he was just awesome at driving eyeballs, web traffic, and converting those people into subscribers, users, and buyers. And so I talked to him about my vision. He was like, wow, I love that. He was doing something very different, but had a very successful business going online. And then I went out to California for 5 days. I'm just like, my mission was to just sort of pitch this guy my idea and see if I could get him totally bought in. And I did that in late 2008, early 2009. Actually, went out there in December of 2008. And by 2009, we started sort of selling golf information. So we were not only giving it away, but selling it. And the business started to grow really nicely, and we were grabbing people. And then by 2010, as 2010 came around, we really made this tremendous push. And it was at that time that I sort of picked up my stuff and moved to New York City with no plan other than to build a golf media company. And when I say media, I wanted it to become not only a company that was in commerce, but was in media, meaning developing a lot more content, building relationships with a lot more instructors. I wanted to get a little bit into the travel business. I wanted to hit some other areas inside of golf. And so I came here with the idea of just sort of building a team or figuring it out. And it's just, if we had 2 hours to spend together, I could take you step by step through it. And I'm sure some of these people don't want to hear about the business side of it, but it's been a really fun ride. I mean, it's been since 2010. Revolution Golf is now, 2 million subscribers worldwide. It went from Dean and I to over 60 employees, with people here in New York City, Loveland, Colorado, Austin, Texas, Southern California. We're sort of in different areas. We have our own in-house customer service. We've acquired 4 companies along the way, and we continue to build, subscribers all over the world. From 3,000 to 5,000 people a day are sort of joining Revolution Golf at some level of subscription, meaning either a paid or a free service. And now we're basically shooting content video-wise about 200 days a year, and that number is even starting to go up a little bit more, and we're adding more pros and doing some really cool stuff. We have the launch of a new Revolution Golf website that happened in January that's completely responsive. We're working on a suite of apps that will help everybody, because all in all, one of our big goals here is I firmly believe, like, when I found that set of golf clubs of my grandfather's, laying next to them were books. One was Hogan's 5 Lessons. And that's how people used to learn golf. And then sort of after that, I can recall my dad, who was never a golfer, but he dabbled in it. He bought VHS tapes. Heck, they were maybe beta tapes at the time. I remember him buying Golf My Way. And I also remember him buying the Bobby Jones Callaway. At the very beginning of Callaway, did this big, what I thought was super expensive. It was like $200 video series with Bobby Jones. And I remember my dad buying both of those and sort of consuming and learning through his TV. And I really believe that the next generation of golfers, the way the game is going to grow, and these are global people. These are kids all over the world, not only in the United States, but it's going to go straight to like a tablet or a handheld device, and that's how you're going to learn. You're going to learn a lot of the game that way. Sure, I'm not saying that the PGA professionals will ever be replaced. I think they're the heart and blood of the game, and they will carry the tradition, and they're the greatest ambassadors of the game. I'm not saying that at all, but what I am saying is not everybody has access to a PGA professional, and so that there's going to be kids that are entering the game. They're going to do it from Revolution Golf on a phone somewhere in the world, and I think it's just the next evolution of digital learning. And so happy to be a part of it and building a great, fun, most importantly, fun business.
Yeah, I would say that it's amazing to see, and I don't remember when I first initially came across the website, and but I get the emails every day, and I see the videos, and the quality of them is just incredible, and the growth. I mean, it just seems like, I was just looking at the new website, which looks great, by the way. And it said something about 1.5 million subscribers, and it's already up to 2 million, and it just continues to grow and grow and grow. And it's the power of the world we live in, and just like you said, everybody can now, unlike taking a book in your backpack and reading it on the subway, now they can just pull out their phone, watch a video lesson, read an article, read a blog post. So it is. I think you're absolutely right. The world is completely changing in the way that we digest this information, and you guys have definitely been on the front edge and the cutting edge of that, which is pretty awesome to see.
Well, I appreciate the kind words.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the quotes that I saw on your website when I was reading through the About page and your philosophy is, better golf is achieved through simple improvements across all aspects of the game. Kind of delve into that a little bit and how you guys do that with Revolution Golf.
Sure, absolutely. And that is absolutely something we believe in, and the more I get to spend time with incredible teachers of the game, whether they're some of the great players that have ever played the game before. I had an amazing 2014. I spent 5 days with Mr. Gary Player. I caddied in 2 events for Sir Nick Faldo. Not saying that to boast. I just got time to sort of pick the brains of these guys and spend meals with them and walk on the golf course with them, along with all of our faculty, from Jim McLean to Martin Chuck to Dr. Gio Valiente, just really different golfers, different teachers, different champions, and all of them. They might have a different way that they hold the club, or they might have a different way that they communicate what's important and say impact, or the way the golf club is taken away, or whatever that might be. They may all have a slightly different take on that. But they all absolutely believe that you have to be able to improve. To really get good at the game, you have to get better in several facets of the game. And by that, there's the basic strategic parts of the game, or should I say technical parts of the game, like full swing and becoming a good wedge player, and developing a great short game, and developing touch, and touch is something real that needs to be developed, and putting, and then iron play, and consistently being able to do that, and sort of golf strategy and driving the ball. But there's also things like, certainly fitness plays a huge, huge part in it. What all of our instructors say is, all of them agree that there's not typically one way to swing a golf club, that everyone has to do it a specific way. In fact, look, it doesn't take a brain surgeon to look at some of the great champions of the game and say they all swing it a little bit different. But they all had a certain level of physical ability, fitness-wise, while they, to be able to get into the positions and things like that. So, like, fitness is a big part. Mental sort of understanding of the game and the ebb and flows of the game, and strategy is a big part. And like I said, there's all the facets of the entire game that are important. So it's not like there's just not one part of the game that's involved in mastery of it. In order to really become a better player, you sort of have to get better in every single aspect of it. And it's funny, I spend a lot of time with Don Saladino here in New York City, him and his brother own Drive 495, and I'm in there 5 mornings a week with Don, and we've become, workout, not only really close friends, and he's a contributor on Revolution Golf, but we work out together, and it's, I've seen firsthand what, getting in better shape, or just getting back to moving again like you did when you were younger, how much it helps in the overall part of golf. So there's just tons of areas to get better. I've spent a lot of time with Gio Valiente, great guy, works with a lot of the top players in the world on the mental game of golf. He's a professor down at Rollins College in Winter Park, Florida, and he has worked with everybody from Justin Rose to he's spent time with Nicholas to Camilo Villegas to all sorts of guys. His resume is outstanding. Matt Kuchar. And, there's a lot of things to learn from that. So golf is not just about, hitting the driver better and you're going to get better, or hitting your iron better, you're going to get better. To really get better, it's a multiple of things.
Here's a question that I've come across, and this actually came up in a conversation that I had with a client of mine last week, and we were kind of just talking about the website 18 Strong and the content and the different interviews that I've done and the people that are on there. And he's like, man, how do you keep all this stuff as a golfer? How do I keep all this information contained, and how do I, keep it sorted out? So, and I'm sure with what you guys are doing, you're putting out content after content after content. I would imagine you run into the question of information overload. When do you reach that point, and how do you control it? Because I feel like there's such good information out there, but sometimes we all get stuck on going on those little rabbit holes of different things and not getting as focused as we should be. How do you deal with that?
That's a great question. It's something that we deal with all the time. And one of the things at Revolution Golf is, we send out a free, every day we send out a swing tip, and we try to keep it between 2 and 4 minutes. So it's a really short, sort of chunked down version of something. And it's really just to help clarify stuff. The intention is to help clarify issues for people, to start a conversation on our site. But it is difficult with all of the different people's sort of theories and how to sort of information overload. And one of the things that makes Revolution Golf much different than a lot of sites is we have instructors who say we have a lot of subscribers who are sort of Jim McClain disciples, and they learn everything through video on Revolution Golf from Jim McClain, whether it's driving, pitching, putting, irons, the whole sort of 9 yards. They try to sort of understand his philosophy of it. One of the things that can be dangerous for golfers when they're receiving like just a little bit of pieces. Like I often get questioned, this is a better way to put it, I often get the question, what's different between Revolution Golf and going to YouTube? And I think the answer at YouTube is on YouTube you have like all these different guys who are giving you their philosophies on one thing, and it can get sort of confusing. And what we try to do at Revolution Golf is match people up, with instructors or present instructors for them to follow the entire curriculum with that given instructor. And hopefully that will help clarify some of the those issues. But like you said, and like your client was saying, golfers, I've found for the most part, people who play golf, they're like inquisitive people. They get the bug and they can't get enough of it. And if you're not, you have to be sort of careful and cognizant about that, because there is so much information out there. And when you love something so much, you have a passion for it, it's easy to overconsume. So that I would love to be able to figure out how to keep people from overconsuming. But that is all the flip side of the blade with that is that people only overconsume because they're such passionate people about the game of golf. Yeah,
that's absolutely true. And I think it's a good point that you make that, there's a ton of instruction out there, but what, like your daily videos do and the interviews that we do here or anybody really, you kind of get a feel for the instructor, their personality. And that's what I like. That's why I like being able to interview people like you, because you can kind of get a feel for that person, whether your learning style is going to fit with their teaching style, and then you can kind of jump into their bandwagon a little bit. Same goes with fitness,
Yep.
and I'm sure you've talked to Don about this before. I mean, there's different fitness philosophies on everything, whether it be cardio, strength training, developing power. And most people are right in many respects, and then they've got their own their own tangents that they go on. But
Sure.
if you kind of follow one person and that you respect and you know that they're qualified, you're able to kind of focus in and hone in and make yourself better. It's when you start jumping on YouTube, looking up videos of everything under the sun that you do kind of get in trouble there.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we try to do at Revolution Golf is like, look, all of our guys, all of our instructors are great instructors, but certain people's communication style works with other people and certain doesn't. It's just like, I equate it to like when you're in high school and you had that history teacher who just was awesome. Like in one year and you loved history because the way that person taught, you just consumed it and you got it. And then maybe the next year you went up a grade level and you didn't have that history teacher. And all of a sudden, even though it's sort of the same topic, same subject, that you just didn't jive with that instructor or that teacher, and it wasn't as easy as it once was. And I sort of think that golf learning is the same way or fitness learning. And as long as somebody, just as you said, is credible, has done their homework, does their homework, and is really fully engaged and makes it like their full-time commitment to pound on their craft, if it's fitness or golf, I think you're going to be in good shape. I really do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've all had that experience with teachers where, one of them's great, but the other one you don't connect with, and you end up kind of spacing out or searching for different meanings or whatnot. So
exactly.
Can you guys tell just by all the statistics and everything what content drives the most traffic or what most people are looking for on the site?
Well, yes, we can. I mean, one of the things that we've built Revolution Golf around is this incredible analytics tool, and we were very cognizant of that when we built the site. So we are getting data all the time from views, from how much people are watching stuff, from their interaction, for their open rates on their emails, to how much of the videos they're watching, where they're dropping off on stuff. And this is all important to us to help craft the content in the future around this type of stuff. I would love to tell you different, but driving the ball farther, distance, is still the king of the game. And I don't know that it'll ever come off of that. I mean, people just have this, they have this desire to hit the golf ball farther, male and female alike. So there's sort of that's always really up there. Interestingly enough, one of the places where we have a tremendous amount of people interested and probably the poorest educated for some reason is with golf equipment. We have a guy on our site, Bronson Wright, who does a great job and does a video about every 7 to 10 days about some area of golf equipment, just educating people on loft and lies, and bulge and roll and bounce and the things that, you definitely just don't get when you walk into your average golf store. And so that's a really big area. I lovingly call those people gearheads that are really into that sort of the equipment side of stuff. And then physical fitness. I mean, people realize our people at Revolution Golf are, they're older. A lot of the database, a lot of the subscribers are 45 years, 50 years, 60, 70, and 80. I mean, it's amazing across that area. And they understand that the life gets in the way. They don't move as much as they used to when they were younger. Or they sit in an office, or they're sitting in a car or a subway or a train doing this for 2 or 3 hours a day. They understand, they get that they're going to do that 5 days a week. And when the weekend comes in the season, if they're not being proactive about their bodies, they're not going to jump out on the first tee on Saturday morning to play with their friends and feel good, or for that matter, be able to swing a golf club good. I mean, that's just life, and it gets in the way, and people are smart enough to realize that. And so people really consume the content that we put in. And it's, Don is not a golf-specific guy, and we don't teach that on the website. We are more about, his philosophy on there is getting people moving, helping them to, get back to some of the movement patterns that they once had when they were younger, Certainly, we have some things on there for people who want to get stronger, but there aren't golf-specific muscles. It's about becoming a better athlete or, keeping up with that to play better golf. And so there's a lot of people that are paying attention to that. And I think it's because of our aging demographic that's on Revolution Golf. We certainly have the young guys too, but they're much more interested in other things. But I can promise you one day they will be interested in, making sure their body's moving nicely.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because I think it was just maybe on the last episode we talked about the fact that the guys that go to, or the majority of guys that go to, like a golf school, are able to travel and go somewhere to one of these 5-day seminars or whatever. Those are usually your guys that are in their 50s or 60s that have, had a good career, and now their golf is their passion. But now, just like you said, they are realizing that, oh my gosh, I've been sitting behind a desk for 30 years and I don't move like I did when I was a kid, and this is all much harder, and I wish I would have been doing this stuff back when I was in my 20s and 30s and 40s when I was raising my family and, all that good stuff. So it's great to see the push of fitness coming into the golf world, because it is such a game where we can play it into our years, into our 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and the stuff that Don and you guys are doing, putting out the content that you do to, just like you said, get people moving. Everybody's an athlete in their own respect, and their body has to move properly. And if we can kind of get that message out to the younger population and tell them it's not all about just driving the ball further and getting a par 5 and 2, but it's also about being able to walk the next day and not have your back hurt when you're sitting at your desk again.
Right. That's exactly. I mean, the fact of the matter is if you're moving better and you're getting older and you're it's not super sexy to say, hey, look, if you're doing some sort of regimen every not every day, but on a very consistent, regular basis, you're going to move better. I can almost guarantee you're going to hit the ball farther. I mean, that will equate into it. I mean, your movement, being able to move better. And so you're exactly right. I mean, it's one of the sort of principles that we just help remind people at Revolution Golf. I was talking with a guy named Dr. Mark Brody, who's a professor up at Columbia University up the road from me here in New York City. And he is the guy who developed strokes gained, which is used on the PGA Tour to quantify the way people are playing. He has an amazing book out called Every Shot Counts. But one of the things that we were talking about over dinner the other night is many of the people that are listening to this podcast, myself included, maybe yourself, on the weekends you might turn on the PGA Tour coverage, and you look on there, and you're watching these guys who nowadays are great athletes. I mean, just look at this past weekend with Dustin Johnson and some of these other guys who are just athletic specimens. And they're contouring their bodies, and they have these flat wrists and making huge turns. And these guys are swinging the golf club at 125 miles an hour, and hitting fairways doing that. And sort of we all watch this, and we all think that that's kind of the way, that's the way it should happen, or that's sort of, oh, look how good those guys are. But you got to remember, you're watching these guys who are sort of at the peak of their state, playing incredible golf. They've put tons of time into conditioning and practicing. And then, your weekend guy watches golf, goes out the next weekend. They've been sitting in an office. They've been commuting all week, whatever it is. And they go out on the first tee, and they haven't done anything to help their body. Or they haven't done really, they've eaten bad, they haven't slept well, and they go out and they think that they're going to play golf in some remote fashion close to the guys that they watch on TV. It's like you set yourself up to fail. You got to be very careful, because going back to what we were speaking to at the beginning of this podcast is, you have to really play at an elite level if that's something you want to do. It is so many facets of the game, from nutrition to sleep, to a workout regimen, to a training to ways you're practicing, to the whole 9 yards. And so we often lose ourselves when we watch these guys on TV, and then the next day or the next weekend we go out and think that we're going to perform wonders on the golf course.
Yeah, it's like watching the Super Bowl and next week strapping on some shoulder pads and expecting to go out and throw a 60-yard bomb like Tom Brady.
That's exactly right. Or
just doesn't happen.
Run a linebacker that's coming at you. It's just not. You have to train. Like, you have to constantly train for that kind of stuff. I mean, those guys are lifting weights. They're hitting golf balls. They're stretching enormously. Most of them are 25 to 35. I mean, there's guys who are not that age, but you just have to you have to be realistic when understanding that. And those guys are literally, golf is just somebody should take the time to look from, even I'd say 1980 to now, the last 25 years of the average golf athlete out there. They went from, guys with pot bellies to these guys. These guys look like they could throw. A lot of these guys look like they could throw pads on and play in that Super Bowl. So it's just a game that's evolved greatly.
Yeah, it's kind of like the evolution of basketball players and baseball players. It's like once they kind of get the bug that, oh my gosh, this is a sport, and if we get stronger and faster and more powerful, we can probably have a little bit more of an advantage, and then just evolves from there.
I mean, so true. Totally off topic, but the same thing happened in NASCAR, believe it or not. 10 years ago in NASCAR, the pit crews were these guys with big old stomachs, out of shape, sitting, drinking Mountain Dew, eating potato chips, sitting on the tires when they came in. Now you look at a NASCAR pit crew, and these guys all look like they could play Division I football, and many of them did. They are strong as an ox. They wouldn't. Some of them don't even need the jacks that they use. They're so strong. But it's like an evolution taking place in so many different sports, from golf to, as crazy as it sounds, even something like NASCAR.
Yeah, it's amazing. I have heard that. The timing that they have to have, and just this, again, the speed and everything is so imperative that they're fast and strong, and they're eating well and all that stuff. Every little bit counts when it's come to a sport like that and playing at your highest level.
Yep.
Let's touch a little bit on the fitness side a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
But as I mentioned before, we want to get to know you, Justin, as the golfer, because basically you're the demographic that your site caters to, that my site caters to in the podcast. And so what are some of the greatest lessons that you've learned fitness-wise working with Don, about yourself, about your own game?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, first and foremost is as I mentioned earlier, when we work out, we're not doing a golf specific workout per se. What Don's working with me to do is to overall get stronger, and we'll have programs that go 8 to 12 weeks where it's different at different times of the year. At dead of winter, we've been doing, some really heavy weight, which I really learned to love and enjoy. It's not something you would think. It's not, but it helps me actually get a lot sort of leaner. It's one of those counterintuitives to someone who's not a fitness professional, how you can use this big weight and you just think that you're going to get really big, but actually you just really get tight. And so that's been fun to put on that strength. But one of the things that was the biggest eye-opener for me is if you've played golf for a long time like I have, and you haven't until 20 months ago was very hit or miss with my physical fitness. Now I'm very regimented on it, but until then, golf creates a lot of imbalances in your body, meaning it's, a unilateral sport where if you're a right-handed golfer, I've probably hit, I would be scared to guess how many golf balls in one direction. So my left hip has taken a certain impact, a turn a certain way. My right hip has not taken as much. My left shoulder and my T-spine has turned in a certain way a ton, not the other way. I mean, like if you could do it again, the perfect golfer would hit a shot right-handed and then take a practice swing left-handed, right? Every time he did it, just try to stay perfectly in balance. When I first started with Don, went through this full assessment, and I could not believe how sort of out of whack my body had gotten. Some of it from modern lifestyle of work, commute, sitting, standing, but a lot of it is absolutely from sort of golf specific, turning one way. And so we've made it, we've really worked hard on sort of getting symmetrical and balance, much more balance in my workout. And so my body is getting more back to being symmetric, which then has in turn, without question, helped my golf game tremendously. And then in the last, year, I work a lot with a track. I have one of those golf swing radar TrackMan, and I understand I'm getting older, and I have that macho thing in me where I want to keep up my swing speed and things like that. And so we work on things. We train speed, which is kind of never thought of that before, but speed is like anything else. If you don't work on it and train it, you'll lose it. And that's another thing Don and I have worked on a bunch. And my swing speed with a driver now, it's fast. I when I started with Don, I would swing 108, 109, somewhere in there, which I thought was fast. Now I sort of cruise at about 115 with a driver, and I've gotten to 120 before, messing with it. So that's a tremendous clubhead speed pickup, and it has to do with training speed, training the fast twitch muscles, getting stronger, building a stronger core and base, working on legs, getting my legs stronger and the whole 9 yards. So for me, and working with Don, it's definitely not like golf specific. It's just about getting your symmetric, getting my body back in alignment, getting stronger, doing the little things that help. And it's amazing how it has sort of bled into not only my golf game, but my overall, physical health and well-being and the way I feel.
Well, I think that philosophy is so important that it doesn't have to be a quote-unquote golf-specific workout for it to improve your golf game. There are so many times, and I'm sure that Don's had 1,000 people come to him and say, I want golf-related exercises, and, we want to work on the golf muscles. And, as a fitness trainer and somebody in the business, and I know Allie Gilbert is a huge proponent of this, that there is no such thing as golf muscles. But if you just start working on building a better body, like you said before, moving better, becoming a little stronger, a little more powerful, and getting rid of the imbalances, I think is such a key thing, because you're right. You do everything swinging right-handed as a golfer for the righties. We tell our guys a lot, take a club and take 20 swings left-handed every day, no matter whether you're in your office or, at the gym or whatever. Just take 20 swings in the opposite direction, because you get lopsided, and then that's where injuries happen. When your body's not balanced, pushing, pulling, left, right, up, down, you start to run into those kinds of problems. So I'm very glad you brought that point up.
Jeff, one of the interesting things when I first started working out with Don, and Don at Drive 495, they have some great physical trainers there. They have a great guy named Charlie Weingroff, and then Connor. I have to look up Connor's last name. It's not coming to me right away. But these guys are terrific in helping you understand your body. And when I first started working out there, man, I had these shoulder pains. We were getting these horrible shoulder pains in my left shoulder. And that's the side, I'm a right-handed golfer, and I'm like, oh gosh, I hope I'm not overdoing this. I'm not hoping not developing something, any sort of rotator cuff issue or something like this. Am I doing the right thing? You have all these thoughts that go through your head. And what I realized is Charlie put me on the table and took a good look at me, and he was like, I'm like, all right, it's all in my left shoulder. and he starts working on my hips. I'm like, what are you doing, man? It's all on my shoulder. And, I'm not saying this, obviously, but I'm thinking this. And literally within 45 minutes, hasn't touched my shoulder, but has gotten my hips to loosen up a bit, and the shoulder pain is totally gone. So it was like, to me, that was crazy. The way the body works is I was having a shoulder pain, but it was due to my hips just being ridiculously tight. And those are the type of things that are just sort of eye openers that you forget about, or I certainly forgot about.
Yeah, sometimes more of the global approach of figuring out, where are the restrictions, and because if there's a restriction, your body's going to figure out a way to get around it. The human body is an amazing thing.
Yep.
So it'll figure a way out for you to swing that club and for you to do it repetitively a bunch of times, but that just means that there's going to be stress put somewhere else where it shouldn't be put. And Charlie, I love his stuff. I read and have watched a bunch of his videos. They've got such a solid crew up there at Drive 495.
Yeah, they really do.
And so that's a great point to make, though, for all you guys out there listening that have a shoulder problem, that have a back problem. It doesn't always mean that it's that portion of your body that has the issue. It means that is obviously the portion that is taking up a lot of the stress and maybe overcompensating for another issue. Once again, a reason why you should go get evaluated, let somebody qualified look you over, figure out what your limitations are, what your imbalances are.
Absolutely. And I just got to feel, I just thought that, man, I've done something to my shoulder type thing, and it's just amazingly this is connected to this, which is connected to this, and like you said, the body is a complex thing, and my shoulder was taking a beating because my hips were too tight. I would have just never thought that. It was such an eye-opening experience.
Absolutely. All right, Justin, I got just a few more personal questions for you before we wrap up here. So I like to kind of go through a little bit of a hot seat or, kind of a rapid fire questioning, just some random questions here. What, given the fact that I'm sure people come at you with all kinds of golf gadgets and swing aids and all kinds of things, what is one golf gadget that you actually love and use consistently?
The Orange Whip, without question. Those guys, the Orange Whip is a simple thing to keep in your bag. We sell thousands of them through Revolution Golf, and the reason why we do is because it works. It's great for tempo. It's great for a bit of a stretching tool. It's just something really good for warm up. Look, I'd love to say that everybody warms up correctly before a round of golf. We all know we don't. Many people jump out of their car, throw their clubs on their shoulder or on a cart, and go straight to the first tee, and it's a really good training aid and something that not only sort of works as a training aid and something to help you warm up a bit.
Yeah, I love the Orange Whip. We've got a couple of those at our place too.
Yeah.
What would be one of the most embarrassing or frustrating memories that you have on the golf course?
Embarrassing or frustrating? It's got to be embarrassing when it goes back to high school. My dad drove up 6 hours to see me play in a high school match, and this was up in the mountains of North Carolina. I went to a prep school up there. And so he's up there. I'd had a great season going. He hadn't seen me play all year, and we were at Blowing Rock Country Club, and off the first tee, I broke a lady's window on the side of her house. Just hit with a driver. Just hit it dead right, farther right than you could ever see a ball go, and it literally, you heard the smash like it was in stereo.
Oh,
it was a bit embarrassing.
All right, well, let's redeem yourself. What would be one of the most memorable experiences you've had on the golf course? Either, and that could be a trip you've had, a shot that you made, a round that you've played, anything.
Yeah. Most memorable was round as of late. This was just in my head. Is I had a round down in Secession Golf Club in Buffort, South Carolina, where I'm from, last year, with my cousin and two really close friends who from up here. It was in March of last year. Hadn't been playing much golf, and just had one of those days that you dream about. Was on the 17th hole, 7 under par, and then sort of choked it in. I shot 65, but hit it really close on 17 and 18, like 5 feet on 17 and 8 feet on 18. Missed both of those. It could have been a really super special day, but it was just one of those days that came out of absolutely nowhere. It was the easiest game in the world. Everywhere I looked, the ball went, and literally sort of missed one shot that caused a bogey. Had 6 birdies, an eagle, and 1 bogey. So it was a fun, memorable day that's sort of top of mind at the moment.
We dream about those days.
It seemed like the next day I shot 73 and it felt like I shot 95.
I bet.
Yeah, it was just one of those days. I jumped up. It came out of nowhere and was a ton of fun.
All right, are you a Caddyshack or a Happy Gilmore guy?
Definitely Caddyshack.
Nice. What would be a favorite book for golfers that you have? And this doesn't necessarily have to be a golf book, but a book for golfers.
I mentioned this book a little while ago. I am absolutely fascinated by this book called Every Shot Counts right now by Dr. Mark Brody. And what he talks about are what he, through analytics and studying every shot that these PGA Tour players are used playing is what's really, really, really important. And that being said is he's looked at all the data, thousands and thousands and thousands of lines of data, and had guys at Columbia University really look at everything, and he's dispelled a lot of myths. The game is not drive for show, putt for dough. In actuality, the best players in the world are the best ball strikers in the world. If you take the top 10 on the money list, they average 18th in ball striking. If you take the top 10 on the money list, they average 64th in putting. The best putter on the PGA Tour from 2001 to 2011, all tournaments except the majors, is Luke Donald. Luke Donald from 5 feet in was the best player putting, and he made 54% of his 5-footers.
Wow.
The average guy made 50% of his tour player made 50%. So sometimes as weekend golfers or are hobbyists, we think that these guys just make everything. That's just not the case. You have to get your mind right about what to expect. They make everything on the last 4 holes when you're watching the greatest players in the world play on Sunday at the Masters because they're in a peak state, and that's just what they're doing. But he just helps you understand what's so incredibly good. When Tiger had his run in 2000, from 2001 to 2010, the area of the game where he was the best in the world at, people, if you ask that question, most people would say, oh, he made every putt. And why Tiger putted fantastic during that time? Where he gained the most strokes on field day in and day out, is there is nobody in the world better than him on proximity to the hole from shots hit from 175 yards to 205 yards. He averaged hitting that closer than anybody else in the world by a long shot, by like tremendous amount of space. And so that book is one that to me not only is very interesting to help people really understand golf, but it also helps you really understand, don't beat yourself up with the game. It's a hard game. And you're going to have some days that are like the one I just spoke of. Maybe not, you're not going to shoot 65, but if you play this game enough, you're going to have some days where the game's kind of easy. And then you're going to have days where it's really, really hard. And you just have to really keep in perspective that, where your opportunities are. And so that, for that matter, that book is really on the top of mind right now.
Well, so I've been hearing a lot about that book
I really strongly, it's some of it can get a little heady, parts of it, but there's tons of it that are really, really, really fascinating. Really fascinating.
All right, and the last one here, obviously the name of the podcast is 18 Strong, and it ties in with a lot of the fitness stuff that we do on the website and talk with a lot of different fitness professionals. But 18 Strong is also kind of an all-encompassing term to me. But I like to get the perspective of the guests that we have on the show. When you hear the term 18 strong, what definition does that conjure up to you about golf?
To me, that conjures up like 18 strong. Like when I think of that, I think about the opportunity to play 18 holes to the best of your ability and sort of what goes into that. And I think that to play 18 holes to the best of your ability, to play it strong, you've got to, you got to have somewhat an awareness of a golf swing, being able to keep the ball pretty much in front of you. You've got to be able to feel good for 18 holes for 4.5 hours out there walking or riding. You've got to be able to have the nutrition in you to feel good. You can't, that's another thing that I didn't get into that Don has been so big on me about that's made such an impact is drinking enough water, having some small meals on the golf course, not having sort of sugar spikes or getting hungry. And because what that does to concentration and brain stuff is unbelievable. But so to me, like 18 strong is a lot what we said about Revolution Golf. It's like this, what are the all-encompassing aspects that are required to play 18 strong holes? And that would be like nutrition, physical fitness, swing awareness, mental clarity, those things. And that is not easy to do.
Excellent. And what can we expect in 2015 from Revolution Golf?
Revolution Golf has a lot of great plans for 2015. We've got a big instructor announcement coming in a couple weeks that I think a lot of people are going to be fascinated with. We are continuing to work on our new site. We are going to have a bunch of mobile apps come out, stuff to, again, help with what I believe will be the future of where we're heading, meaning the ability to learn the golf from a mobile device, a tablet, a phone, things like that. I mean, our site is now totally responsive, which means for non-computer people, it means that the site should look good no matter if you're on a desktop, a laptop, a tablet, or a phone. But there's just some things that we're going to do about that. And then I've got some things also that we're going to, in the pipeline to roll out for late 2015 on just helping some video communication between our instructors and our subscribers that we're pretty excited about. So never-ending, technology is a fun thing, but it can also be a never-ending chase. But that's sort of part of what we like about it, is helping to evolve the difficult game of golf and making it sort of something that's consumable. And we're just continuing to have fun as well.
Well, I'm excited to see what kind of stuff you guys are bringing. And as always, you guys put together some great content. And so very exciting stuff coming up. So any last words of advice for the audience, and then let them know where they can find you and more about Revolution Golf?
Last words for advice is, well, I really think on 18strong.com, you say it best, is I think if you train hard and you practice smart, and you're going to go out and play hard and have more fun. I mean, golf is a lot. There's so many similarities in golf that there is in regular life. I mean, I can almost promise you, if you take your slogan, train hard, practice hard, play better golf, and you sort of just say that to life, train hard, practice or work hard, and, play better, those are good things to live by too. I mean, I just think that if the more people I see who really have their stuff together on the golf course and business and life, definitely train hard. And, I want to congratulate you for putting together a podcast in a place where people can grab resources like this, because I am 100% bought in. I completely, as I said, from the conversations that I've been fortunate enough to have over the last 5 years and immersing myself in this, I think that you are on the absolute right track here with your site and with your podcast, and just encourage you to keep going. I have no idea what your goals are for this, but I can tell you, you never know what things can evolve into. So, congratulations on a cool site, and And that's about it.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate those kind words. That means a lot coming from you.
You got it, my friend.
Well, Justin, I just want to say thanks for coming on the show. I know that the audience has gotten a ton of information. I think this was one of the best episodes we've had, and I'm going to send all them to the show notes of your episode here. There will be links to everything, Drive 495, Revolution Golf, basically everything we talked about in here, so they'll be able to find you. And is it okay if I put up some stuff to follow you on Facebook and Revolution Golf on Twitter, obviously, all that good stuff?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
All right. Well, thanks, man. I really appreciate it.
You got it.
All right. I hope you guys enjoyed that interview with Justin. And like I said, if you haven't been over to revolutiongolf.com, you got to get over there, sign up for their email list, and you'll be blown away with the content that they send you on a daily basis and all the options that they give you and stuff that they bring your way as far as game improvement and how you can utilize their information, their products, things like that to make your game much, much better. And, of course, everything we've got from this episode is going to be in the show notes. You can go to 18strong.com/Justin-Tupper to find this the show notes page directly, or just go to the website, and in the top right, you'll see the search engine or the search bar, and just type Justin in there. You'll be able to find him from there. We've got links to everything, including the book that he mentioned, Every Shot Counts by Mark Brody, links up to Revolution Golf, and even a link to the Orange Whip Trainer, which is something that Justin mentioned as one of the top gadgets that he would recommend. And something kind of cool, I've teamed up with the folks from Orange Whip Trainer to be able to give you guys a little bit of a discount if you're still looking for an Orange Whip, if you don't have one in your bag like every other golfer in the world does. It's one of the things that I use at our gym. I use it with, I've got two of them actually, and we use it almost on a daily basis, either with myself or with a lot of the clients that I work with. So you can, on the show notes page, you'll find the link to the Orange Whip Trainer, and if you're checking out, use the promo code 18STRONG, that's 18STRONG, and you should get $10 off of your Orange Whip Trainer purchase. So hopefully you can go over there and check them out if you don't have one. Again, it's a great tool to have. So I want to thank you guys again. I think it was an awesome episode. Justin brought a lot of great content and a lot of good stuff for us to learn from. And again, I'm just blown away with the information that he gave me from a business standpoint, from a podcaster, webcaster standpoint. And, I think the stuff that they're doing over at Revolution Golf, like he said, is only going to get better. They've got some very exciting stuff coming, so I can't wait to see what they have for the year 2015. Thanks again for listening, and remember, train hard, practice smart, play better golf.
Thanks for listening to the 18 Strong podcast at www.18strong.com. And remember, train hard, practice smart, and play better golf.